Hi internet friends, my name is John and in this video I will be talking about IR35. So IR35 is a UK tax law which affects temporary workers and contractors within the UK. So this law affects every single person who contracts. Now the reason why I'm doing a video on IR35 is because I've been a contractor in the UK job market for about 15 years. I run two businesses, I have my own accountant. Currently I'm hiring for people, so I sort of understand how this affects things. So about a year ago, I did a video on IR35. A number of people asked me to do a 2021 update, so here we are. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what exactly is IR35, how it's going to affect day rates, because after all, we all care about that cash money. And I'm going to finish off basically saying some predictions about the UK job market. So if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, do it now, it'll take you 1 second and I'll appreciate it. So let's kick things off talking about what exactly is IR35. Inland Press Release number 35A, or IR35, was supposedly introduced to stop these big corporations completely screwing over their little guy on minimum wage. So allegedly what was happening was these big corporations, when they needed to hire people, instead of offering people permanent opportunities, they were only offering them 0-hour contracts. So this meant that they could hire and fire people with no notice. It meant that they didn't have to pay any holiday pay. It meant they didn't have to pay any sick pay. They didn't have to make any pension contributions. In fact, it meant that they didn't really have to look after their employees whatsoever. They could just make more profit. And I'm guessing most of that profit went for companies offside and offshore from the UK. On the flip side, you then had all these minimum wage workers, and I'm guessing if you're a minimum wage worker, you're just going to say yes to a job because you need some cash money. So you're willing to take whatever deal that you get. So even though you're getting screwed over, you were saying yes. And this is where the UK government came in, and this is sort of like the intention of IR35, which is obviously a great thing. However, the thing that I take umbrage with IR35 is it affects everyone, and this affects me as a contractor as well. Now, I work in an industry which is a project-based industry, and this is the annoying thing about IR35 for me. So I've been building websites for 20 years. I know I look like I'm only 20, but I'm not. I've been building websites for these big organizations, brands that you'll have heard of, they're household names, and for me, a typical project runs from maybe 3 months to 24 months, and probably on average, give or take 9 months, 12 months, that's a typical project. So regardless if I'm contracting or permanent, I'm actually sort of a permanent nature project because I'm swapping jobs every 12 months regardless of my status. Now, before IR35, things were pretty sweet because I could also run my own private limited company. And this meant I could actually pay less tax. So not only was I contracting, I wasn't paying the same amount of tax as normal employees. So becoming a contractor was a lot more lucrative for me than it was being a permanent employee. And this is the reason why more and more people were becoming contractors. And if you're working in the IT job space at least, it was actually really difficult to find really good permanent employees because all the really good people went off contracting. So the other side of IR35 is to actually claim tax back from these high income workers so the government can make more money. And it is estimated that they're going to make an extra 1.2 billion with a B in extra tax. And as we all know, the government loves to get as much tax out of us as possible. It's not enough that we're all paying, 50% anyway, and we're paying VAT, and we have to pay stamp duty when we buy houses. Yes, we don't really pay enough, so we all need to pay much more tax because it's unfair otherwise. The UK government is basically taking real umbrage against workers that they are labelling as disguised employees. Now, a disguised employee is not someone who turns up to work every day rocking a big fake mustache calling himself Sanchez. A disguised employee is not someone with a big rain mac wearing sunglasses and a hat who's darting in and out of shop fronts tailing people. A disguised employee is not even someone on a stakeout eating a big jam donut complaining it's their day before retirement. No, a disguised employee is basically someone who works on-prem and in essence looks exactly the same as a permanent employee. However, they're working through this private limited company and paying less tax. So what does this look like? So this means you're a contractor, you're working on-premise, so you're working at the company's offices. This means you're getting paid daily, so for a day rate, so you might getting paid, say, £500 every day. This is very different to working for fixed price projects. So the other way of working is if I'm self-employed, I might say I'm building your website. It's going to cost you $5,000. Now it doesn't make a difference if the website takes me 1 day to build or 20 years. It's fixed price, so there's more risk for my business when I'm not working on a day rate. Now another thing is your notice period. Now as a contractor, you'll have a notice period. It's going to be a lot shorter than when you're in a permanent employee. However, you do have a notice period. And another thing is that you're using office furniture. I make websites, so for me this means that I'm using the company's laptop, the company's software, all of that sort of stuff to build my websites. So basically on paper, the only real difference between me and an employee is that I'm a contractor, I have less notice period, and I'm also paying less tax. And this is the thing that the UK government hates. All the points in that last slide have been the law for many years. However, it's probably highly likely that if you've contracted before, you've never been asked these things. And this is because it was pretty much impossible for HMRC to police. So I'm guessing HMRC is a department of like 30, 20, 50 people, however big. It's pretty much impossible to try and police every single contractor in the whole of the UK job market. I mean, how would you do it? This is why one of the points of IR35 is to swap the responsibilities, and now there's a lot more onus on the companies who are hiring contractors to check these things, and there's big penalties and fines and all that sort of stuff. And now it's the responsibility of the companies to make sure that you're inside and outside IR35. If you'll get classed as inside IR35, it's now up to the company to pay all your taxes to HMRC, and you'll just get paid as a contractor the left behind, your salary. Obviously, for most companies, they're not going to have the resources to do this. So if you're inside of IR35, you're pretty much going to have to work through an umbrella company. So what does this mean as a take home, the money? So on the screen right there, as you can see, a normal salary of 100k is going to get you about $6,000 every month. So for your $6,000 every month, you're also going to have some holiday, you're going to have sick pay, you're going to get some pensions, you might get some benefits. To get the equivalent outside of IR35, if you meet the standards, and there's something on the HMRC website that you can go and check if you're inside, outside, and you're applicable, you only need to get paid £430 every day. So this is going to give you equivalent of about 100k, but remember, you're not going to have any of your holidays. Also remember, there's now going to be a lot less outside IR35 roles, so the day rates are going to drop. So these roles, they're not going away, they're still going to be applicable. However, there's going to be a lot less of them. The final way of working is inside IR35, and this is when you're in those guidelines that I just mentioned, and the company has to pay your tax for you, so you'll just get paid the salary at the end. So to get the equivalent of a 100k salary inside of IR35, you are going to need £600 every day. Now, the issue with these £600 every day is that you'll also likely be working under a 0-hour contract, so you can get fired anytime. So this means you need to think about, extra time of trying to find new jobs. Also, you're not going to get any of those holiday benefits. Also, you're going to have to work through an umbrella company, which is going to take a cut. So realistically, for your £600 a day, you might want a little bit more, because if you're taking some holidays and all that sort of stuff, realistically, you might need a £700 a day just to get the equivalent. Now, this is one of the problems that gets to £700 a day rate. This means that companies are going to have to pay more money than they previously have. And as we all know, companies don't like paying money. So this means that they might go offshore. They might stop going for contractors altogether and hire companies instead because it makes more sense. Or they might just hire permanent employees. So this is why IR35 is going to completely change how companies hire people moving forward. So you may be sat at home wondering, how is this going to affect me? How is this affecting the job market? And how is this going to affect my future ultimately? So these are great questions. Now, obviously the pandemic and the utter bullshitness that is COVID has screwed a lot of things up. Now, IR35 men have kicked in a year ago. So what this did mean is a year ago, a load of contractors took permanent positions. I think the aim, like myself, was to hunker down, see where we were in a year, and then maybe go back into the contracting market if things were good. However, because things have been delayed for a year, it's still too early to tell. What I can say in the last year, in my sector alone, is there definitely has been jobs. However, there's definitely been less jobs, and the day rate for perm and contract is not as strong as it was in really like the last couple of years. So a couple of years ago, you could get some really strong market rates. However, speaking to recruiters recently, there's hardly any outside IR35 roles, and a lot of people are just willing to take permanent because ultimately, at the end of the year, they're going to be making more money. I do think one of the bigger factors that will come into play nowadays is how long it's going to take you to find a new contract. Now, out of the 12 years that I was contracting, historically, I'd find a new contract within about a week or two. That's about it. However, in 2021, I don't think that's the case anymore. Now, the reason why I say that is recently I've been trying to hire a contractor for the job that I'm currently working in. Now, this means that I've had access to about 30 or 40 different CVs. And going through these CVs, pre-2020, what I've noticed is all these contractors have been, historically, they've been working, 11, 12 months every year. They've constantly had a CV history, they've constantly been employed. However, out of most of these CVs, in 2020, most people have not been working for a full 12 months. Some people have only been working for 1 month, which is pretty brutal. Other people have been working for 9, 10 months. Some people have been working for 11 if they're lucky. However, this is a determining factor. Now, if you're thinking about at the end of the year, you want to get paid the most amount of money possible, unfortunately, paying that tax and potentially being a permanent employee might at the time be the best way to increase your chances of making the most amount of money. If you are working in a project-based industry like mine, unfortunately I do think IR35 is going to affect you and there's not much you can do about it. Now, originally when I heard about IR35, in my head I was thinking I'll just whack up my day rate, who cares, no biggie. Unfortunately, because of COVID and the lack of jobs, that's just not possible at the moment. Now, I don't think it's all doom and gloom, and we have to remember that life works in cycles. Now, one story that I'd like to say is one that I read from Keith Richard, the absolute legend from the Rolling Stone. He's the guitar guy. Now, in his book, he was saying that in the 50s or 60s, whenever it was, they used to have to pay 99% tax. Yes, 99%. So he would make 1% earnings on anything over 100K. That is much worse than anything that we're talking about now. Now, at the moment, there's still plenty of jobs. So on all likely, you're not going to be on the street begging for money. However, unfortunately, you are going to be paying the government more tax money, sadly. And you just got to think that life moves in cycles. Just like the stock market goes up and down, at the moment, because of the UK tax law and because of COVID, things aren't as strong as they used to be. However, after COVID goes away, in a year or two, the market will bounce back and things will probably go back to how they were. It's just going to take a little bit longer than everyone planned. Now, you may be sat there wondering, what am I doing? And yes, I'm a permanent employee right now and I'm not a contractor. And the reason for this was because of opportunity, really. And this is another thing that I think you should consider when you're weighing up the pros and cons of permanent and contracting. So currently I am head of development and company, means that I oversee 3 departments and I'm doing a role and a responsibility that I just couldn't have done as a contractor. And this is one of the things that you might want to consider in this interim period when things are in flux. Maybe thinking about going for a permanent job and getting a role which you just wouldn't be able to get in a contracting market. Now, for me, say if the contracting market bounces back to normal in a few years, I would now be able to go for head of development roles, which pays more money than I was on previously. So actually taking this time to take a step back, learning some new skills, learning to work in a new type of industry, in a new role, this is the perfect opportunity to look at those roles which you probably would have to take a pay cut for anyway, and actually thinking about long term, this is a perfect chance to learn some new skills which will help you in the future. Anyway, we're wrapping up right now. I'm hoping you found some value out of this video. As I said, I've been contracting for 12 years. I still run multiple businesses, even though I'm a permanent employee. It's just one of those things we're going to have to pay more tax and live with it until COVID is over, I'm afraid. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this content and you want to learn more about IR35 or see another update maybe in a year, please hit that subscribe button. I would very much appreciate it. If you want to do me a solid, also hit that like button. Hitting that like button tricks YouTube into sharing this video to more people, so I would appreciate that. Anyway, I hope you have found some value in this video. I'm hoping you're not too upset that you're probably going to have to pay some more tax. Hope you have a great day and happy coding.